In a world split by elemental forces, two kingdoms stood as opposites yet equals. To the far north lay a realm of eternal winter. Snow blanketed the land, rivers were frozen ribbons of silver, and the air was crisp with frost. At the heart of this icy expanse rose a shimmering palace of unyielding ice, where a ruler governed with calm and clarity. Her people revered her, for she brought them security and peace in their frozen world. To the south blazed lands alive with constant heat, their landscapes dominated by glowing magma flows, ash-streaked skies and towering volcanoes. In the center of this fiery empire stood a castle carved from obsidian and laced with molten streams. Its ruler burned brightly, his power as fierce as the sun. His people thrived under his warmth and passion, their lives full of energy and vitality. Though the two lands bordered one another, their rulers had never met. Their realms were too different, their elements too incompatible. The ice feared the fire's consuming heat, and the fire loathed the ice's chilling touch. Yet despite this separation, their kingdoms were bound in a delicate balance until that balance began to crumble. In the frozen realm, the unthinkable happened. The glaciers began to melt. The eternal frost that defined the kingdom softened. Rivers swelled beyond their banks, and once solid plains turned into icy wastelands. The people were terrified, for their homes were built on the stability of the frozen ground. Meanwhile, in the fiery empire, the flames that sustained life began to rage out of control. Volcanoes erupted violently, consuming villages, and wildfires swept through the southern forests, leaving nothing but charred remains. Both rulers sought answers, but none of their advisors could explain the chaos. Only ancient prophecies offered a clue. In both lands, legends spoke of a time when imbalance would threaten the world, and only a union of opposites could restore harmony. These tales had always seemed like myths, yet now they felt undeniable. The northern ruler, though reluctant, prepared to journey south to confront her counterpart. She knew her powers alone could not save her kingdom. Meanwhile, the southern ruler, equally wary, readied himself for a journey north. His fire, though mighty, could not control the chaos on its own. The two rulers met at the border between their lands, where frost-covered tundras kissed the edges of smoldering volcanic fields. The atmosphere crackled with tension as their opposing elements collided, steam rising where ice met flame. The northern leader, with her glacial calm, regarded the fiery intensity of her southern counterpart with caution. He, in turn, viewed her icy demeanor as a challenge, yet both knew their kingdoms depended on their cooperation. Together, they began their journey to a legendary place where all elemental forces converged. This nexus was said to hold the key to restoring balance, but reaching it would not be easy. The path tested their strengths and forced them to confront their differences. In the frozen tundras of the north, the southern ruler struggled. The biting cold weakened his fire, and his once brilliant glow dimmed. The northern leader, though naturally resistant to the cold, understood his plight. Using her powers, she crafted icy shelters to shield him from the harsh winds, sparing her energy to ensure his flame would not extinguish. As they crossed into the fiery canyons of the south, it was the northern ruler who began to falter. The intense heat caused her frost to melt, her powers waning with each step. The southern ruler, realizing her struggle, used his fire to create paths of solid obsidian, cooling the ground so she could walk without harm. He shielded her from blasts of molten heat, his flames tempered to protect rather than destroy. Through these trials, they learned to see each other not as threats, but as partners. The northern leader, who had always valued stillness and control, began to appreciate the strength of the southern ruler's passion. The southern leader, who thrived on energy and change, found beauty in the calm and clarity his northern counterpart brought. After days of perilous travel, they reached the nexus. It was a breathtaking sight, a vast cavern where ice and fire intertwined in perfect harmony. Stalactites of crystal-clear ice hung from the ceiling, dripping into pools of glowing magma below. Streams of fire wove through frozen pillars, their interplay creating a radiant, pulsating light. Here, the Nexus presented its final challenge. To restore balance, the two rulers would have to combine their powers, but such a fusion was dangerous. If either faltered, the energy released could destroy them both and further destabilize their kingdoms. Standing at the center of the chamber, the northern ruler summoned her frost, her powers radiating an intense cold that spread through the room. The southern ruler, in turn, unleashed his fire, filling the air with a searing heat. At first, their elements clashed violently, ice hissing into steam and flames sputtering under the frost. But slowly they began to work in tandem. The northern leader softened her control, letting her frost flow more freely, while the southern ruler tempered his fire, guiding it with care. Their powers wove together, creating a luminous sphere of energy that pulsed with life. As the sphere grew brighter, the chaotic forces tearing their kingdoms apart began to subside. When the light faded, the nexus glowed with renewed energy. The balance was restored. In the north, the glaciers stopped melting, their icy grandeur preserved. In the south, the wildfires calmed, and the volcanoes returned to their steady, life-giving rhythms. The two rulers returned to their respective lands, but their bond remained unbroken. They forged an alliance, ensuring that their people could coexist despite their differences. Between their realms, rivers of warm water now flowed, symbolizing the harmony between ice and fire. The tale of their journey became a legend, passed down through generations as a reminder that even the most opposing forces can come together to create something extraordinary. Their journey proved that true strength lies not in isolation but in unity, and that balance can only be achieved through understanding and cooperation.